Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Club Reaction here at Club at 22, the Rangers podcast, as Rangers whimper to a 2-1 defeat against St Johnstone. I've got the two lads with me today. First of all, Scott Gemmell. I was going to say, how are you, Scotia? But that's a stupid question.
Yeah, I think it's fairly obvious how I'm really frustrated with that today. It's just more of the same, please, Rangers, really, isn't it? And it's not fun at the moment.
It's not at all. And we have the return of Ryan, who's just come on at the perfect podcast for himself. Ryan, again, shambles once again, but not unexpected.
Not unexpected at all, mate. Not unexpected at all. It's unfortunately, it's inflatable sharks that are ready now, mate. We're ready to go up to the car park because we've got a lot to get our teeth into, but very, very disappointed in that team once again.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into starting lineup first of it. It was the exact same team that played against Aberdeen, which we pretty much, I think pretty much every Rangers fan would have went with, to be honest. It was McGregor, Tav, King, Davies, Barisic, Lundstrom, Sands, Tillman, Kent, Cholak and Fashion Sakala. So obviously me and Scotia predicted that would be. Ryan, was that what you thought it was too?
Yeah, I think he's got to go. I understand why he's went with that team today, because he's got to go with I'm trying not to laugh when I say this, a winning formula, because they did play well last week and I did enjoy myself last week, believe it or not. However, I did say, I think I said in the group chat, I think a lot of that was to do with how Aberdeen set up. They were very attacking last week and gave us a lot of space. So in terms of the starting lineup, no, not any surprises in there for me, Ali.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think many Rangers fans could come back and say he got the team wrong, because I don't think he got the team wrong. It's the players that are letting him down majorly. But anyway, start of the game, I thought Rangers were very bright when they started the game. They had to be bright against St Johnstone. I thought they came out of traps well. They had something like Scotia, 12 corners, I think, in 21 minutes or something. I don't know if that's some sort of record, but it doesn't matter if we get 100 corners in 21 minutes, because you know what happens. What did you think at the start, Scotia? I thought we were bright without really having the cutting edge, though, apart from obviously Sakala hitting the bar.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm the same as you. I thought we came out the traps pretty well, considering it was that 12 o'clock kickoff that we said about before, that Rangers don't seem to come out and play for that first half hour. But I thought we did. We came out fairly well. Had a few half chances, really, but nothing that was too clear cut. I think that, yeah, like you say there, that Sakala one probably was, where it hit off the crossbar, was probably our best shot. I thought Lundstrom was playing, that wee bit higher. He was linking up well, yeah, which then meant that Tillman had quite a good amount of opportunity to go forward at times, and thought he'd started brightly as well. So in the first 30 minutes, I was thinking, no, this is okay. But the longer it went on towards that 25-minute, 30-minute period, I was getting the feeling like, no, it's going to turn into one of these days, isn't it? That we're knocking in the door all the time because there's nothing. I mean, because I don't think Cholak really had like a absolute nailed on proper chance, really. It was all out in corners and things like that, and just getting half chances away. So yeah, it was a decent start, but you did have that wee worry in the back of your mind that it was we could see what was coming.
Yeah, Ryan, what was your thoughts in the first 30 minutes? Obviously Rangers had all the ball, half chances, if you want to say. The one I remember was a ball, Tillman at the back post pulls it back across, and St Johnstone kind of deal with Cholak was close to it, and Sakala hitting the bar. But that was really it, apart from the 12 corners we had and all the possession. But did you have that feeling at 30 minutes that it's going to be one of their days, or did you expect Rangers to go on and get the goal?
No, I certainly didn't expect them to go and get the goal. I think the Rangers' performance is something we've seen so many times as a support. We've seen it so many times where, yes, we have the possession. Yes, we probably look the livelier team. Are we doing anything clear-cut, really? Are we creating chances? Are we making the goalkeeper work? Is he keeping them at 0-0? Is he keeping it as 0-0? I didn't feel like that at all. If I could probably... After about 20 minutes, I kind of knew it was going to go that way. I thought if St Johnstone get a chance, they'll score. And it just reminded, we're at this stage where Rangers are like a comedy show, because if I think of some of the comedy shows I like Still Game, for example, I've seen Still Game so many times, I'm bored of it now. Like, I would never watch an episode of Still Game because I've seen it so many times. My kids watch it, and I'm bored of watching this Rangers team now. I've seen this show 100 times. I knew we were dropping after 20 minutes today, and that's terrible. And I think the majority of our support would have known that, Ali. We were flattering to deceive with the ball. We were poor in possession. We were doing nothing really. And as you said, 12 corners, and we're doing nothing with them. Sakala, to be fair, Sakala had that one off the crossbar. But apart from that, how can you put so many crosses into the box, even from open play, and do nothing with it? It's, like I say, we've seen it so many times.
Yeah, Scotia, Ryan makes a good point. I had Tommy was up watching the game with me today, and I turned to Tommy after half an hour and I went, because we hadn't put the ball in the back of the net without having all the possession, I went, you know what's, we've seen this movie, like Ryan says, do you know what's going to happen? They'll have one chance and they'll score. Obviously, we might as well come to it. Obviously, St Johnstone score. Just before the build-up play to that goal, I think we've got 3-4 chances to deal with. John Lundstrom breaks with a ball, tries to play it to Sakala. I don't think Sakala moves how he wants, and he just chucks it. Lundstrom absolutely chucks it. I was raging at that point. St Johnstone got the park. I don't think Tav was clever, young. The ball comes into the box. Davies tries to flick it away to play out. It, again, breaks the St Johnstone player. Comes to the guy in the edge of the box who has time to take a touch on it. Ryan Kent is, I was going to say he's charging out to him, but he's not. Ryan Kent should be busting his arse to get in that boy's face. Doesn't. It's time to take a touch, lashes it right in the back of the net. And as Ryan says, we have seen this movie so many times with Rangers.
Yeah, this goal was really frustrating because it was the first wee period of time that St Johnstone were actually up our end of the park, and I think they were up our end of the park for a whole of 20 seconds, which had been the majority, most that had that whole half, and then it just looked like collectively the whole back line and the sort of midfielders just all collectively just took their foot off. I could almost see them just taking the foot off the gas a bit, and they just all sat and watched what was happening out in the wide. Tav should be doing a wee bit better. Lundstrom should be doing better. Then it was across King. Yeah, Davies not great, and it was Kent running out to get the ball. Let's be fair. The goal itself's an absolute screamer of a goal, but Kent should be right on top of him to prevent him getting that chance. And it's just typically Kent so far a lot of this season that he's been half-hearted wee runs and things like that. So frustrating. First shot and goal for St Johnstone. Goal goes in.
Yeah, going at half-time, Ryan, and Sky Sports put the stats up, and stats mean nothing unless you put the ball in the back of the net, let's be honest about it, and St Johnstone showed that today. Stats of whatever corners Rangers had, 17 shots, I think it was, a couple on target, and St Johnstone had their one shot on target and scored. At half-time, to be honest, I know what you're going to say to me here, but at half-time, you knew it was coming at full-time, didn't you?
Yeah, I said they would go up 2-0 before we scored. That's what I said to my dad. I said they'll go up 2-0 before we score because we're going to be looking for this goal and they'll get one chance and they'll score. And when you've seen a movie so many times, you can write it yourself. You know exactly what's coming next. So that's what happened. And in terms of the goal, it baffles me how many Rangers players were at the back and not one of them can clear that ball. Tavernier doesn't do his job. King doesn't cover his own glory. Davies doesn't get it away. And Barisic and Kent are they doubling? Are they marking each other in the box? I don't know what's happening there because they seem to be overloading that back post where there is nobody there, and it allows that guy to just take all the time in the world, compose himself. It's a thunder blaster. Let's not be kidded, but it's been happening all season. We have been defending horribly all season, and getting at half time down 1-0. There'll be the loyal or whoever you want to call certain Rangers fans who can only see with blue tinted glasses. They will say to you, I'd never give up or no surrender, whatever you want to call it. I wasn't feeling at half time. I'm sorry. I've seen this Rangers team in a million times in terms of the stats as well, Ali, as you touch on. I always refer to that, the second last Old Firm game. It was at Ibrox last year. I always refer to that game because I have seen no change in this Rangers team domestically from that game. And I think we put in something like 40, 50 crosses in that game. And Celtic just 2 goals and beat us. And there's been no change. And we keep doing it. We keep trying this field method. And we got it handed to us once again.
Yeah, Scotia at half time, obviously we go in 1-0 down. Would you have made any changes at half time, or did you think, no, we'll give the team the benefit of the doubt to go out and try and rectify this in the next 45 minutes? I know hindsight's a great thing in that, but at the time, would you have made changes?
Yeah. To be honest, I wasn't screaming out to make changes at half time because I didn't really see. What I had in my mind is if Gio's going to make changes, he'll make like for like changes that won't really change anything up. I mean, the only change you could really maybe make is bring on Morelos for Kent potentially, but then I wasn't sure. No, maybe not. I wasn't screaming out for changes, to be honest, because we're so limited in what we have on the bench at the minute. There wasn't really any obvious ones screaming out to me.
Yeah, and then the second half starts, and I'll be honest. I knew anyway before it kicked off, but I knew after 5 minutes, there's nothing in this Rangers team. I thought they were clueless, predictable. There's no leaders on that park. I mean, you've got Alan McGregor at a point screaming at their back, but he can only do so much from being a goalkeeper. Nobody wants to take responsibility in this Rangers team, and it's so predictable. I mean, it morphed back to that Livingston game we seen at Ibrox a couple of weeks ago. It was the same kind of thing again. And St Johnstone's quite happy just to give us the ball and let us go wide and whip balls into the box, right? And you'd think after that Livingston game, because we know how St Johnstone are going to set up, very similar to Livingston, we would learn for these things. But are we ever going to learn from these mistakes? Because the way it looks at the moment to me is no, because we do the same thing all the time.
That's the simple answer. No, this team, I will put a bet on, will never learn for this, Ali. And the personnel needs to change. The backbone of this team should have changed in the summer. I'm going to be brutal when I say this. It should have changed in the summer. We've seen this coming. We backed Gio on this pod. I certainly backed him, and I'll put my hands up. I was wrong. I thought he was bringing signings in that would make a difference. I did hope that it would put a kind of identity as his side in terms of putting Gerrard's team to bed. It's not. It's still very much Gerrard's field product, the kind of field side of his team that's on that pitch. And we can go through personal players, and some people agree, some people won't. You know who I don't like. There's a couple of them out there, but they are failing constantly with this method of crossing the ball in and passing the ball about in the shoehorn. It doesn't work. And you asked Scotia there, would you have made any changes? And I understand Scotia's saying he would look at the bench and not made any changes, but what he should have done is changed his system because it was failing. We were down 1-0. It was obvious that we were flirting with the goal but not creating anything. So he stuck with the same method and the same personnel. So why did he think that was going to change in the second half? Because we've seen it game after game after game. The Rangers are so predictable. And you say about the Livingston game, I said after that Livingston game, that'll be the easiest point Livingston pick up this season. That'll be the easiest 3 points St Johnstone pick up this season, Ali.
No, 100% agree. And then obviously they do make changes. Scotia, you get your Morelos and Chulak up front as he brings on Morelos in Arfield. Ben Davies goes off and Tillman goes off. Tillman, I just thought, disappeared into the game. Like a lot of them, to be honest, looked disinterested. But he goes to a back three, Scotia. Puts Morelos up front, which you've been wanting to see for a while. And straight away, St Johnstone got the park. Again, a ball into bar box. Nicky Clark, lively enough in front of, I think it was Young King, and just, it's a good finish for Nicky Clark, you've got to be honest. But it's 2-0 Scotia, and to me, the game is absolutely done at this point. I thought, there's no chance we are scoring 2. We'll struggle to score 1, but 2, no chance.
Yeah, I mean, you say there with the subs and Morelos coming on, and I do want to see Morelos and Chulak play together at the same time in the team, but I don't want to see it when it's desperation stuff from Gio, when he's bringing it on, just, oh God, we need a goal now. You know, you can do that if you're going to start the game or if you're winning a game comfortably. Do it if you to do that, but no, when that happened, you kind of knew it was desperation stuff from Gio. And then obviously the goal itself, just before that, I think St Johnstone go up the park, and Borna Barisic makes an absolutely cracking last-ditch clearance. Yeah. And then Tav gets the ball, and he does the wee chip that Tav does to run onto it, and he chips it out the park for a throw into St Johnstone. And then from that throw-in eventually leads to the goal, Nicky Clark scoring, and then King and Barisic can maybe look at themselves for their defending from that throw-in, because we're really bad at throw-ins, Ali. I always get the fear when we get a throw-in for us, even for us way down at like our goal, because I'm terrified that we can't defend it properly, and we couldn't defend that one properly either.
Yeah, Ryan, what was your thoughts when Nicky Clark puts the ball in the back of the net at that point?
My thoughts were, I bet you the Union Bears aren't singing his name at the end of the game because he used to play for us, Ali. I'll be honest. Just how I find it embarrassing that Nicky Clark, who he wasn't a great player for us, let's be honest, is putting a shift in, looking a decent player against our defence.
Put Stevie May
and
in there
Stevie
as well.
May. Aye. When Stevie May came on the telly, my dad actually went like, does he still play football, that Stevie May? And as soon as he said it, I thought, he's a stick on for a good game today. The two of them looked dangerous. They looked threatening up front. Ran us about a bit when that second goal went in. It's just typical. How many goals does he come down that side, Tavernier side? Yeah, some people are happy with his goals, penalties, assists, whatever. I think a right back has to do his job first and foremost, and the amount of goals we lose down that side, teams target us down that side. There's no doubt about it. And Barisic's side as well, because it's so easy to get a cross ball in against us. Far too easy, and no surprises, Ali. It was a nice finish from him, but no surprise, and I hate it. But yeah, 2-0, game's done for me. I felt that. I was so demoralised with them that 2-0, I felt it was done.
Yeah, I was the same. I thought it was done. Because to me, even if Rangers did come back and draw this game today, it's no use. We had to get 3 points, and 3 points was a must. But again, after the goal, I just thought we huffed and puffed like we did the whole of the second half, really not doing anything predictable, going out wide, whipping balls in. We're coming up against a team in St John's who are organised, well drilled, know what they're doing, similar to Livingston, and we just can't break these teams down because, let's be honest, we're clueless when we're up against teams like this. Yes, we look good against Aberdeen because Ryan made the point. Aberdeen actually came out and had a go at us, and rightfully so, because they probably smelled blood because we've been playing crap. So we might found a wee bit of space. But yeah, 74th minute, Scotia. Ball kind of breaks to the edge of the box. Tav has a shot, which is nobody really shoots outside the box in our team. Keeps it low. The goalkeeper doesn't cover himself in glory, and it goes in the back of the net, Scotia. And it's 2-1 at that point with still 15, 16 minutes to go. Did you think we could rescue something from this game? Or I was still in the camp of, I still can't see us doing much.
Before I go on to that, you said that we didn't shoot out from outside the box. Well, Kent had a few attempts from outside the box, which were typical Kent kind of shots.
I don't class them, Scotia. That was like a pass back.
No, but this one from the corner, Tav, I'm sure Tav tried this a few occasions during the game, and he was skying them over. So this one he managed to keep down and goes into the back of the net. And yeah, it goes in at 2-1, and you're like, oh, can you get the wee rush? But again, it was similar to, was it the Livingston game when Lundstrom scored? It was similar to the Livingston game in that respect, where you're coming back, chasing it, and you're like, yeah, but it's still just papering over the cracks, really. But I do think even after the goal, for the whole 4 or 5 minutes, we looked as if we had a wee bit of intent about us. But that, as soon as the subs get made after 7 to 8 minutes, that kind of fell away again.
Yeah, after the goal, Ryan, obviously, like Scotia says, there was a 5-minute flurry with Rangers where they woke up slightly. John Lundstrom has a good shot, if you want to say. I thought he was terrible at Lundstrom, but great shot off the bar. And then Tav has a header at the back post. But after that, we just morphed back into the same old crap, to be honest. But apart from that wee flurry, there was really nothing there.
5-minute flurry, aren't we spoiled, boys? Eh? It's the same as how Rangers start the game. So when Rangers started the game, there looks a bit of intent. They look a bit lively, and you think, right, it looks as if we're at it here. And the players probably feel that as well. There's probably a bit of confidence going about them because they're on the ball and things are zipping about. And it's almost as if they don't get that goal in the first 5 minutes, the first 10 minutes of playing like that, it's like they don't down tools, but it's as if they lose the belief, and then it's back to that mundane pass and doing nothing with it. And it all comes down to mentality, boys. For me, they look as if they don't believe they can climb back. They don't believe they can us as fans, we're allowed to have our opinion on that. We're allowed to say on a podcast, which doesn't really matter, or in the stands, it doesn't matter, that you don't think Rangers can come back. But those players should be believing, they should be shown belief, because they're paid to do it and they're paid to entertain. And it just doesn't look as if they do believe it. It looks as if any time they go down or the chips are against them, they look as if they're ready to down tools or just give up. And yeah, after that, as you say, a 5-minute flurry, we did pretty much nothing, which is, when you think a lot of people say the league is gone today, if that's your reaction to the league being gone, then you're at the wrong club.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And then after that, during that kind of flurry, after the flurry, if you were to say, we make a couple of substitutions. James Sands comes off, Kamara comes on, Ryan Kent comes off, Rabi Matondo comes on. Matondo had a couple of runs without really doing anything, to be honest. And then Fashion Sakala goes off with a hamstring injury. Oh, again, another injury that we can add to the list. And Scott Wright comes on, who really offered nothing. To be honest, I actually thought St Johnstone looked more dangerous than we did, because every time they went up the park, they looked like they could probably actually nick a goal and make it 3-1. But yeah, we huff and puff.
They were still playing with two up top at that point, really. Or they at least had two going up and they were in attack against their back three.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to give St Johnstone credit. They knew their jobs and deserve to win a game. I know we've had all the possession and everything, but we're not done anything with it. So, yeah, it ends. There's, like I say, 4 minutes added time. Nothing really happens. A couple of balls in the box, a couple of balls that went out the park, and it is full time. Beaten 2-1. I think this weekend sums up. You look, and you need to look across at Celtic this weekend. They were 2 each against Dundee United. What was it? 87th minute, Dundee United scored. They came back and won 4-2. They didn't even to come back at 3-2. They didn't even sit to hold a 3-2. They went on and try and get a fourth and won 4-2. And you look at us. The difference between the two teams is they have a winning mentality. They know what they're doing. And you need to say it, they are miles better than us at the moment. And I hate saying that as a Rangers fan, but they are. Do you agree with that, Ryan? I know we've had group chat this weekend, but I just think this weekend defines the difference between the two teams.
Well, you know, and it's obviously for the listeners and the viewers what I'm about to say, because you know exactly how I feel about this team. I've said it in the group chat. We've had umpteen conversations about it with text outside the group chat, because I've called this for months, unfortunately, and I don't take any pleasure in being right, but they are miles ahead of us mentally. Miles ahead of us. We are mentally weak, and you see it. You see it when we go to Parkhead. I mean, yes, they were the better team. I said that, but the way we collapse mentally is worrying for me. We've been doing that for months. There's so many times we've collapsed. We could spend all day pinpointing moments in games or games as a whole where these players have mentally collapsed, and it's a problem. And it's a problem that's not been addressed by the board. You can take it back to Van Bronckhorst. It wasn't his first game, but he was in the stands and he had been appointed as a manager. And you look at that Hibs game at Hampden, and we were 3-0 down to Hibernian. No disrespect to Hibernian, but 3-0 down to Hibs at half-time in a semi-final. That's mentally weak. That's players giving up or just not up for it. And Connor Goldson called out, and I slated Connor Goldson for that. It looks as if he was right, and I would love to know the players who he was referring to and if they're still at Ibrox now, because yeah, that mob over the other side have got something, a winning mentality, and it sees them through, and it's why they're where they are just now, and it's why they are pretty much in waiting, the way I look at it, unless there are drastic changes from now till January and we get some serious investment and some serious talent in the door, then I don't think we've even got their tails at the moment, are we?
Yeah, completely agree, Ryan. And Scotia, I'd assume you're probably in the same camp in terms of this weekend and in terms of the two teams, and it is a defining weekend, and it does sum up the difference between the two teams. And I mean, we're not going to sit here. I mean, it pains us to say it, but we need to say it. We need to say what we see. They are a better team than us. They have a stronger mentality than us. We don't. We all knew today when we went down 2 goals. Chucked it. Spin that. If that's Celtic, they'll go and win that game because they've got winners in their team. We don't. Are you within the same opinion as me and Ryan?
Yeah, a wee bit. I mean, I do have to caveat with the fact that I didn't watch. I've not seen what the the Celtic Dundee United
You
game
don't
was
need
like.
to watch. You don't need to watch
No,
those
I know.
shows.
Ali. Once again, Ali coming in and explaining my point to me that I was going to make.
Right, boys.
Yeah.
That's plenty. Let's not fall out.
No, it's okay. Fall out with Rangers at the moment. No, but you could, you know that's what it like. Celtic probably had a lot of chances that were well saved or something like that. But with us, it's all these kind of half chances we don't get, and then they take their really good chances when they get them. We don't. It's just typical, and it's frustrating. It's been like this for too often, apart from games in Europe, really. And even this season, you can't even cling to that. It's been poor. We've been stuttering along, really, and it's not great.
Yeah. Now, we might as well come on to the elephant in the room. We've been talking about it for weeks now. It's been on social media for weeks about folks saying that Gio has to go. I think the players have completely chucked him under the bus. The board need to take responsibility. We've said it. We've been kicking a can down the road. My theory on it is when they finally pull the trigger on Van Bronckhorst, who I think the players need to take major responsibility in it, it will be too late and the league will be gone. Do you think, Scotia, after today's result, the board will pull this trigger?
So you're asking, there's two different questions or two different answers I could give.
Do you think they should?
Do I think the board will? I don't think the board will. I think they'll wait at least until after the game against St Mirren on Saturday, because what the board will have it in their minds is Gio sacked, then who comes in as assistant manager or who comes in as caretaker manager. It won't be Mackay or Voss. So I don't think the board will, but I think after that he does need to go, because it's similar with the signings that we're just kicking the can down the road kind of thing. Stop it, just delaying the inevitable, really, isn't it? So
yeah, Ryan, what's your feelings on the manager and moving forward?
Well, I hate being this guy, but I'll never call for a manager's head. However, he's failing. He's failing miserably at the moment. And I said at the beginning of the season I wanted nothing less than a treble. And people laugh at you when you say that, but that's the standards of Rangers. If you think that's a laugh, or you think that we shouldn't really be looking at a treble, then you need to look at the standards of Rangers and what they're built on. And I think the mentality is all wrong at Rangers, and I think he's part of the problem. He's not the only problem. Those players need to take responsibility for so many performances on that pitch. Van Bronckhorst is getting no reaction from these players whatsoever. His system is flawed. He has built a team around, whether he's brought the players in or not, he has brought players in around players who have failed to win the league again. And yes, with the Europa League run, that's gone now. It's very much like 55. It's gone. You can't live off that for the rest of your life. And whether you like it or not, the Europa League was a failure. We didn't win the trophy at the end of it. It was great at the time, but it's done. Van Bronckhorst, for me, will go now. He will go, whether it's tomorrow or 2 or 3 weeks later or whatever it is. He will go now, and so will his coaching staff. But that doesn't eradicate the problem with this team. This team have got something seriously wrong with them, and they need winners installed in them. The standards need to be brought up, and I think the problem, unfortunately, comes from the top, and it comes right down to the supporters, some of the supporters as well, when I read some of the tweets, and I know you shouldn't take anything legit from Twitter, but some of the standards I hear from Rangers fans saying we're still in the cups and things like that blows my mind, Ali. That is not what Rangers are built on. I think the banter years have brought our standards down a wee bit. Rangers should be looking to win trophies every single year, and first and foremost should be this league title.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's a certain generation, that the younger ones that have grown up with Rangers in those kind of years, and I mean, we're fortunate enough to see Rangers way back to the 90s, winning league titles all the time, winning Scottish Cups, League Cups, trebles, competing in Europe. That's
I know. I'll be honest. I don't want it to sound like I'm having a go at fans but I think you know what I'm getting at. I just think there is an acceptance of mediocrity amongst the fans, and that'll play very much into the board's hands. If they know that we are kind of willing to accept it just didn't happen this season, then we are in for a lot more pain than just now. we need to keep our standards up at this club. And yeah, it is a Rangers Da moment, mate. Very much a Rangers Da moment, but we need to keep our standards up.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. But yeah, so we'll just need to see what happens in the coming days and hours. What actually happens? I'll be honest. I'll be shocked if the board do anything now. Maybe in Scotia's camp, if they are going to do it, they might do it when we've got this break in the World Cup coming up. But whoever comes in, if there is somebody out there, if they have got anyone in the background as a successor, they need to work with a group of players until January. And even at January, you're in a market which is hard to bring players in at that point. But boys, we move on to Wednesday. Ibrox, Scotia will come to you. Ibrox is going to be a very, very toxic place on Wednesday night, especially if the Broncos is still a manager and we play Hearts on Wednesday. It's not going to be a nice place to be. I know we're not doing a club deck corner, obviously, because as a mark of respect to Scott's sister on Tuesday, but what's your thoughts for Wednesday coming up? Nobody really wants to go, do we?
Yeah, I mean, no, for Wednesday, no. The reason that I think the board will wait until at least Saturday, Sunday before they make any move is because the board haven't shown me anything recently, unless it's to take money off of me. They've not shown me anything recently to convince that they're actually going to do anything about it. They came out and done that wee period of spells where they've done an awful lot of interviews with some folk and things like that. But that was because the pressure was getting so big on them. So I'm convinced that they won't do anything today or tomorrow. And with regards to Gio, I'll be shocked if they do. But Wednesday night, yeah, not looking forward to it. Really, I was looking forward to it if you'd asked me this yesterday or on Friday, because the trains are now running again, so I can actually, I don't need to drive up and go up and meet you for a pint beforehand. But after today, after today, it's no, I'm not looking forward to it. And you know what Ibrox is like when if someone makes the slightest wee wrong mistake, it's going to be those groans, and I've got a feeling that they could start really early, and it's just going to be one of those nights where I don't actually like sitting in Ibrox when it's like at that at times, because it feels, I don't like the feeling of it. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, Ryan, we've all been there when it's been toxic at Ibrox, and I think Wednesday night's going to be one of the nights. And we're playing a Hearts team who are playing well, have some players back, and they'll fancy it. And let's be honest, nobody would fancy Rangers on Wednesday night at all. Nobody fancies any game we're going into at the moment. You would never put money in Rangers at the moment because you don't know what's going to turn up. But Wednesday night for you, do you think it's going to be that toxic atmosphere at Ibrox?
Yeah, it certainly will be. I mean, you know me, I don't like negativity around about Rangers. It's Scotia says it perfectly. Like it's one pass and then they'll be getting abuse. And I would admit, I was what game was it? The Livingston game, and when we conceded that first goal, I gave them a bit of ball looking. I was roaring at them, and it's because how much the fans care. And if you can't, as a player, take that, Ibrox has been like that forever. It's forever since I've been going, and if you can't take that and you can't handle that as a player, then you're at the wrong club. But I totally agree with Scotia. It's a horrible atmosphere to be in, because it's not just the shouting and the moaning from the fans. There's always like people arguing, because there will be people blaming Gio solely, and there'll be people blaming the board, and there'll be people backing the board. I've had arguments with people in pubs of who's to blame with this. And yes, roll on Wednesday. It's going to be a cracker, mate. I can't wait.
Yeah, I know. Bring on the World Cup. So I'm getting the Rangers for 4 or 5 weeks. But yeah, that'll do us, lads. Obviously, I'd like to thank Ryan and Scott for coming on. It's never easy, especially coming on doing a live podcast after that today. There's a lot of folk I can see tuning in to watch us, probably some from the other side of the city, but even they must give us some positive feedback, because at least we've actually said some nice things about their team, and we've told the truth in here, and we won't sugarcoat it. I know a lot of folk maybe think we're quite negative in this podcast, but it's not negativity. It's us telling it as it is, to be honest. So it's telling the truth. Pains me to say again, they are simply better than us, and they are miles ahead of us at the moment. And this weekend defined the difference between the two teams. So, yes, thanks very much. First of all, Scott Gemmell for coming on.
Yeah, cheers. It was we picked the perfect game to go live after a club reaction, didn't we? That was disappointing to say the least. Yeah, let's hope there's none of them in the future.
Yes, and Ryan, I was going to say, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. There's some English football you can probably watch to maybe try and forget about that.
Inter Milan and Juve. Inter Milan Juve is on later tonight. That's the football everyone's watching.
Yeah, and I'm playing football tonight as well at 7:00, which is it'll be interesting because my son is actually playing as well in the other team. So
Is it?
aye,
I'll be a bit of needle in that.
I've got a bit. Need to watch my dignity, Ali. You know, I've left a few pub doors, so hopefully I'll get on all right tonight and get a smile on my face and go right through him's first tackle.
Yeah, no, go for it, Ryan. I'll actually go down and watch you. Probably more entertainment there than it was in that telly today.
You'll see more passion, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. But no, cheers, lads. So yeah, thanks to everyone that's come on and listened to us ramble about that, and everyone in the comments as well. So yes, unfortunately, we'll be there on Wednesday night to watch Rangers against Hearts. Hopefully, we'll bring you a post-match as well. What it's going to be, I don't know, because we just don't know what Rangers team's going to turn up. So it'll be interesting in the next couple of days to see what happens. But I'll be honest, don't hold your breath if you think he's going to be sacked right away, even though we all know what should happen. So yeah, we have been Club at 22, the Rangers podcast, and we'll be back on Wednesday. Thanks very much.